Hello, welcome to Inside the Birds Post Game Live. Geoff Mosher with Adam Caplan. The Eagles with a 28-3 win, Adam, over the New York Giants at MetLife Stadium. And we've got a lot to talk about, but I guess we should start with this because we've talked about it quite a bit. It is the almost 1 year anniversary of the last time the Eagles won a game by more than a possession. So it was last year against the Miami Dolphins that they won 31-17, I believe, on October 22nd. And all this time later, the Eagles finally get what looks like a convincing win for them, or at least a dominant win. We can talk about how convinced we are certain things, but it was a dominant win. It was a one-sided win. And Adam, the Eagles have won consecutive games this year for the first time. They get to 4-2, while the Giants themselves, a division team that, they always get geared up to play and sometimes gives them a lot of trouble. The Giants fall to 2-5. What do you think of this win?
Yeah, the defense. It's about defense and Barkley. I mean, that's the storyline. That's the lead. Defense and Barkley took over really from pillar to post. We'll get into the passing game, which had its issues, although Hurts made the throw of the year. I mean, that was an incredible bomb on a 4th and 3. But yeah, I would say that the defense, they came to play and they took advantage of one-on-one matchups. Also, the blitzing work. We'll get into that. Everything that Vic Fangio dialed up today was terrific. The defense was the kick the Giants' ass. I mean, it was just an absolute dominance. And how embarrassing is it? And you saw my text about it 20 minutes ago. Brian Daboll trying to get anything out of this game. So they're trying to get points to stave off not getting a touchdown. So they keep calling timeouts late. I mean, give me a break. Pathetic.
Right. That was pretty pathetic. That's a little gamesmanship. You see that in some Eagles-Giants games, so not surprising. I think the Eagles would ordinarily probably take some umbrage with that, and maybe they will later. But I think for them, Adam, just getting a win that they didn't have to go through blood, sweat, and tears to get. Yeah. Obviously, they had some major injuries, and so did the Giants, but you're without your left tackle. That showed up early on. You're without your tight end, Dallas Goedert. And you're wondering about how Darius Slay is going to make it in. You're on the road. You're playing your first division game. And for one quarter, it sort of looked like it was going to be a slug, the kind of sort of, I don't want to say slobber knocker, but scratch and claw type of game. Yeah. But I think the Eagles really took control of this game in the third quarter. I thought there were some questionable decisions coaching that we'll get into, but the bottom line is big play offense, about 5 or 6 big plays. And as you just said, the defense did not let the Giants, who have been scrappy this year, they did not let the Giants scrap their way to points.
Yeah, I would say the latter is the thing, man. The defense took over. They were feeling it. It was pretty amazing. They just completely dominated the Giants' offensive line. Without Andrew Thomas, that was clearly a problem. You and I were texting in the first quarter. Josh Azudu got his ass kicked. Yeah, left tackle. Illumina, right tackle. Jermaine's played left and right, but he struggled today. And look, everyone ate today. I mean, Jalen Carter had a great game. He got over. Nakobe Dean, phenomenal. I love what Vic's doing. We'll get into that. They did some different things today. It's just, you feel good about it. Look, the passing game's still major work in progress. Hurts, they got up so big, in the second quarter, they started rolling. So they didn't, obviously, once you get up 14-0, the way things are going and the way Barkley was going, you take the air out of the football. That's called coaching. You don't need to throw the football very much. There's no reason to it. Considering your defense is killing the Giants' offensive line and passing game. They play to their defensive run game. That's good coaching. But the one issue is going to be their passing game. It's hard to judge it in this game because they didn't have to. But when they did early on, it was just Hurts is kind of feeling his way out of it. Okay, where's this ball going to go? He's holding on to it a little bit. Did find Brown early, then obviously the big play, but that's something that they're going to just have to continue to work through.
Do you feel like you still have – I mean, we clearly still have questions about the passing game. The defense had a dominant performance, but do you think until they face a healthier offensive team, the last 2 weeks being Cleveland and the Giants, 2 of the worst offenses in the league, right? And then also with the left tackle injury for the Giants, do you feel like you're still – how do you just feel overall about the defensive development?
Improving, but I'm with you in that you got to see what happens because they're going to face Cincinnati, who could spread you out. No question about it. Slay tweaked his foot in the first quarter, or first half, and he was out there to start the second half, so that was a good sign. We'll get into a couple injuries that they suffered in this game, which we got to keep an eye on. But I would say I feel better about the defense, no question about it. And there were some great contributions today. In fact, this is kind of funny because it was garbage time. Jalen Hutton had his first sack as a professional. That was good to see.
Hey, listen, back to the point about not having a win by more than one possession in almost a year. I mean, when you see Will Shipley in a game, and then you see Kenny Pickett in a game, and you see Jalen Hutton in a game, that 2 years ago, you would see that like once every 3 or 4 games. Right now, it's like, wow, you went a year without seeing the backups come in, without feeling like the Eagles had one. I got a text from a friend just to show you where Eagles fans are at. Not all, but this one in particular, who texted me, why are we putting Pickett in the fourth quarter of this game? And I said, are you kidding?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what you want.
He's like, I'm just telling you, I just never feel with the Eagles that it's really true.
Oh, it's too big of a lead.
I know. I think, but that just shows you that it's been a long time that the Eagles have been able to do this. And what I think you hope to see out of this is continues the improvements that you are seeing, a little bit more pass rush, some blitzing, some better coverage, continues to be like a building block that doesn't just collapse when you face a way better offense. That these are things that'll be sustainable going forward and building blocks for Vic Fangio and his coaching staff. And then maybe some of the things that you saw big play-wise offensively the last 2 weeks with A.J. Brown, with Saquon Barkley, you continue to ride those until you get a little bit more sustainable long drive marches like you used to do a couple of years ago with your offense.
Yeah, incrementally, they did everything they wanted on defense. So offensively, the pass pro certainly was an issue. I think Hurts at times was looking down a little bit because, he's feeling it. He knew that Becton left with a concussion. That was an issue. Obviously, Mailata's now on IR. He's got to serve 3 more games this week because he went on IR before 4 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. That counts as 1 game. So he's got 3 more to serve. We'll see if he can come back after the 4 games. But so they got to get through that. That's obviously a concern. So that I would just say that the one negative is the passing game. I just still don't feel like it's there yet. I think it's the timing's off. They got to get it into a rhythm, which they're not in yet.
Agree with you on that. There doesn't seem to be a great marriage, as we always talk about, in sequencing between the run game and the pass game. Do we see some under center? Yeah, we'll talk about that. So again, saw some developments there. And also, Adam, and listen, I know this is not an Eagles thing. It's an NFL thing, but you hate the whole 1 step forward, 2 step back from an injury standpoint. You're already down your left tackle, and then bam, Mekhi Becton, who after about 2 or 3 possessions, you and I were wondering, are we going to have to see Becton slide out to left tackle? Well, that became moot because he left with a concussion. Now Tyler Steen went in there. We'll check the all-22 throughout the week. We'll talk to Greg. We'll talk to whoever we need to see how he played. But when a guy has a concussion, you never know if he'll be available for the next game. And so now now you're looking at a potential of playing the Bengals next week down 2 starters on your offensive line.
Yeah, and they have to travel next week. That game is in Cincinnati. And by the way, the Bengals are going to win their 3rd today. So a third out of the last 4 weeks, and they'll be 3-4 in there. They're obviously just fighting for a wild card spot. They got a long way to go, but you know what the Bengals can do. They're always capable. Burrow spreading everybody out with Higgins and Chase. So we'll take a look at that matchup later in the week. But I'll be interested when we talk to Cosell Tuesday night, Greg Cosell, of course, for our Patreon members. Line them up. If you're a Patreon member, line them up. Line up your questions. I'm interested to see what the questions are going to be because they take over, man. They kind of run it. We just moderate and they ask whatever they want to ask.
Sure.
So we'll see what everybody has. By the way, that's 8 p.m. Eastern every Tuesday night. Patreon.com/Inside the Birds. Become a member. So we'll talk about that on Tuesday with Greg. But I think overall, you got to feel pretty good if you're an Eagles fan. Yes, the first quarter scoring again. This is not great. I mean, this is now 6 straight. 6 games now they haven't scored, but in the first quarter. But they did score twice, I think, in the second quarter. So you'll take that. That was better. And Barkley was incredible today. How about him asking out 3 times because he got so gassed for the long runs?
I'm surprised there was only 3 with the way he was able to rip out those long runs.
He's got it for over 1,700. He's on pace for over 1,700 yards, man.
Yeah, unbelievable. That is the one off-season edition, you can say, that has paid its dividends for the Philadelphia Eagles. There's no doubt about it. So let's get into the X's O's a little bit. Let's start with the Eagles defense against the Giants offense. Obviously, from the start, you could tell that the Giants having no Andrew Thomas at left tackle was going to be an issue for them. I thought they did, just like the Eagles with Fred Johnson, though, I do think they did a better job, Adam, of settling in. They stuck tight end there. They gave Jones had some opportunities from the second quarter on to try to find people open. Now, I don't know if they were, and he couldn't. There were some coverage sacks involved. He held on to the ball long, but both teams sort of managed around what looked like a really bad left tackle issue at the start. But I felt like defensively, the Eagles, Adam, set the tone for the game really in the third quarter on the Giants' first possession. It's still 14-3. The Eagles had to go 3 and out on a really bad offensive first possession of the second half. But then on 3rd and 3, you see Jones goes to Wan'Dale Robinson. He drops it. I think, that was the throw where Jones had to run a little bit and threw it a little bit behind him. And then, bam, the Giants were hoping, right? They played a conservative first half, trying to keep it close, hoping that when they got that opportunity to get the ball in the second half, they could score and continue to put pressure on the Giants. But they couldn't, and you give the Eagles credit there. They stop them on their first drive, and then even on the second drive, the Giants had now down 21-3. Jones gets sacked by Nakobe Dean. Now, this is, to me, the play of the game because Nakobe Dean got cut block by the running back, still got up, and then sacked Daniel Jones. And that was an impressive display from Nakobe Dean.
In fact, so let's get into a little bit what we know in terms of X's and O's. So they used Dean as a blitzer, okay? I mean, he and I saw this in training camp. I remember us talking about this specifically. Let's see if it carries over to the season. We've seen a little bit of it, but not really impactful until today. He was so impactful. Straight up, they didn't ID him. That's on Daniel Jones. You got to ID pass rushers. That's on the quarterback. They got to pick. The Giants didn't pick it up. That was I love the game plan from Fangio. Really did. They brought it. See, you got to seize a moment as a play caller, okay? Whether it's offense or defense. If the matchups call it, bring it, and they did. They completely shut the Giants down. They had nothing. They embarrassed Brian Daboll, who took the play calling back from Mike Kafka this season. He actually took it back last year at one point, I'm told. Then gave it back to him, then brought it back, and then took it back, I think. So, I love what Dean did. I was so impressed. They have 8 sacks today. They were all over it.
Yeah.
The coverage was, by the way, let's also give the coverage credit. They did an excellent job in coverage. They didn't give up the big plays down the field. They tried. They were on it. Mitchell Quignon was on it today. We know in man coverage he's had some issues, but he did a great job today. Nolan Smith had a good game. I think he was better today than he was last week, where he flashed a little bit. I know Greg wasn't really sold. He's like, I did okay. We all want to see more. I thought he was more impactful today. Carter was relentless. Good to see Jalen bring it. So the bottom, and Bryce Huff had a sack. He had some good plays. So overall, the cool thing is individually they won, collectively they won, and Vic and his coaches did a great job today. What else could you say about the defense? They kicked their ass.
Yeah, you have to give credit there because there have been plenty of times where it's either this year or past where you're facing an inferior team and you let that inferior team stay in the game or move the chains. You got guys out of gaps. I thought you're right that the Eagles collectively as a unit, without any one person really just wrecking this game, I thought they had better get off on the ball. A couple of bad penalties that against the better team might have hurt them, but didn't hurt them as much. But they had better get off and they had better coverage. They didn't let Malik Neighbors go crazy on them. And you can say, well, the Giants stink, but Malik Neighbors had really good games, even in losses for the Giants. And they moved him around. They tried to find matchups. They made it tough for Daniel Jones to get the ball to him. There must have been 8 or 9 third downs where Daniel Jones was not able to get the ball out quickly the way he wanted to the matchup that he wanted. And you have to say that's because the Eagles were tighter and buttoned up on the back end. And I can't recall any real missed tackles that hurt them.
Yes.
So last week against the Browns, they did better. There were a few, but they were better. This week, much cleaner. So if you're looking for development that you consider to be sustainable, even against bad teams, they seem to, for a couple of weeks, have cleaned up their issues getting the ball carriers on the ground.
They did. They were not sloppy at all. Again, the missed tackle rate was way down. By the way, Nakobe Dean he got credit with the most quarterback hits today of 4. Wow, that is incredible.
That's big.
Boy, I remember the one practice at training camp. It was I'm at one end of the field, and the offense was down there. But Nakobe blitzed so well they actually had to stop. They just had to stop what they were doing because he just shut the plays down. So he could absolutely blitz. That's
Right.
good. We know he's had his issues against the run. We know he's had some missed tackles. It's a true fact. But he was a major factor today. And the coverage was so sticky. Think about this, right? So generally when a team has a big lead, you play dime and the other team puts up garbage yards. The Giants couldn't even do that. That's the impressive part about it. They brought it. They had pride. They didn't give up an offensive touchdown. That's a great thing in today's NFL. It's really hard to do, particularly when you get a big lead and you don't have much to play for. That's when it's it's over. It's interesting. Maddox was playing in the third quarter. I don't know if DeJean was not listed with an injury, so I just thought it was a little bit interesting. We'll see if there's anything to note there.
Yeah, maybe just giving him a break because he's doubling as the full-time nickel and the punt returner. He took some hits. He had some great punt returns.
One of them was beautiful today.
Yeah. But I would imagine that when you're in a lopsided game, you can give him a little break there, right?
Sure, that might have been it. Yeah, it might have been it. But I would say mostly good. Again, well, defense. I mean, mostly it was elite. The defense was just completely shut them because I was a little concerned with what I saw from Tyrone Tracy was so good against the Bengals. So like, Eagles better not bring out that missed tackle card. You don't worry about Singletary. He should be a backup.
Yeah,
he's just the guy. That was a bad signing. But they didn't let anybody beat him. They really didn't. They shut down Neighbors. It just, what could I tell you? They had one play that was it a touchdown was called back for the Giants?
Yes, it was the tight end. I'm honestly.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
You could call that a turning point type of play because I did not see what they were saying was offensive pass interference on Bellinger, I believe, on a sit-down route. Bellinger, on a sit-down route that looked like a touchdown to me. But, hey, Eagles have been the beneficiary of some have gotten the short end of the stick on bad calls too. This time they benefit and they get the job done there. But, yeah, to your point, you mentioned that they didn't give up an offensive touchdown, which is always good no matter who you're facing. That's 2 straight weeks. They have now played 2 consecutive weeks of not giving up an offensive touchdown because I think the Browns' only touchdown was the punt block, right? The McLeod touchdown off the Myles Garrett field goal block, I mean.
Yes. Yeah. And by the way, they went after Nick McLeod today. He's a guy that they may have. I'm not sure if they called an alert because what happens is if a quarterback sees it, they know. You've got man coverage on the outside. Nick McLeod is too thin. He is a guy that he's a guy should be. He's like basically a fourth corner. You don't want him out there a lot. He's been benched repeatedly in his career. And you see number 44, you're going at him with AJ Brown. I mean, AJ should manhandle him, and he did. And AJ with the little Mark Sanchez, former Eagle quarterback, he pointed it out correctly. AJ is unbelievably subtle with the push off. He never gets called for it.
Never.
Folks can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember the last time he's got called for it. I've seen him practice. They never called him practice. And he's an absolute man. And look, the defense, by the way, gets the star of the game. The whole defense, give them the gold star, man. The whole defense should get the players of the game and coaches too.
Yeah, I had predicted in our predictions that I said Jalen Carter would be the game MVP. I mean, he had 2 sacks. I don't know if you would say he is the MVP. I agree with you. The defense just got the job done. Of course, Saquon Barkley, without his contributions as we kind of move over to offense. Yeah, Nakobe Dean would probably be the guy who was the most active player on defense, but everybody got a little piece of the pie. Everybody ate, as they like to say.
Yeah. Here you go.
Unlike the offense where it was the Saquon Barkley buffet and everybody else was just picking up the scraps. Barkley was incredible if you did like a little graph of every Saquon Barkley run, right? Like if True Media did this thing, it would look very weird because there were a lot of 2s, 3s, -1, 2s, and then a 58, and then a 2, and then a 4, and a 6, and then a 44. Right? It was actually what Saquon Barkley has been for a lot of his career. Very feast or famine. But I will give him not only credit for the long runs, Adam. Sometimes those aren't. By the way, sometimes those aren't like the first one around left tackle. I give credit to the line.
Outside zone.
More than Barkley, but he ran very tough. He did not go down on first contact, which is something that we've seen him been doing better this year than he did with the Giants.
Yeah. So on what you just said, so there was, the word with Barkley last year was that second level, didn't see it, would go down for even getting hit sometimes, which that'll lower your grade when you're grading coaching tape. But we're not seeing that here, man. None of that. That he's just been. There's really nothing negative. I mean, we've not I don't think even Greg, who grades tape very, very strong, Cosell is not, he gave everybody the stuff on Barkley, what the issues were coming in. And Greg has been super effusive in his praise. He's like, he thinks he looks great. And the thing that I've seen is he's squeezing the hole really well, man. Because you always have to understand NFL holes are smaller, much smaller than college holes, which are, if you're watching this on YouTube, way bigger. And you got to squeeze the hole, and he's doing a great job of it. And look, and by the way, Tyler Steen, I'm very interested to see what the tape looks like on Tyler Steen, who did a great job coming in against New Orleans. We'll see about Fred Johnson, who struggled in the first quarter. See if he got better from the all-22. But, overall, as we close out the offense, they killed him on outside zone. I want to add, Kenny Gainwell looked really good today. He did a really good job.
Yep. Another guy who his first few carries was like 1, 3, 5, and then bam, once you started to wear down the Giants defensive front, his ability to be fresh and have fresh legs and not have to, carry 20 times a game really came in handy, because he started out not just run well up the middle, but carry some guys and show the strength. To your point on Barkley, there is one knock we've had as an Eagle, and that's his pass protection, but that didn't hurt them today. I think there was maybe one blitz that got to Jalen where Barkley did not pick it up well. But you're fortunate that you really weren't in a position today where pass protection was going to be at an all-time necessary, because they were able to get a big enough lead. And then I know some people might nitpick on the drop pass against Atlanta, but otherwise this guy has saved you. He has saved your offense. He has added the big play element. Do you remember when I said this week in the pregame show that we did with Greg Cosell, I said the one issue that we have with the Eagles offense that we really have to see going forward, as compared to maybe 2 years ago, is that they do a very good job of getting that big play against the look that they want, right? Whether it's single coverage or cover one deep against A.J. Brown, and you can throw outside the numbers.
One high.
Right, one high. Or getting the explosive run out of Barkley. But yet, when you're facing a really good defense, it's going to make you work the ball and hit those flats or hit the middle. We still don't see a whole lot of passing over the middle. That is still the area of the Eagles passing game that we need to see come up to the run game and come up to the big play outside the numbers game to really truly see this offense be complete.
Yeah, we didn't really. Again, Hurts hardly had to throw the ball because they got up so big in the second quarter. It's kind of like, okay, even if they wanted to throw it, Barkley kept having long runs, so it's like, why would you throw the football? So it's hard to judge it, but yeah, they're not getting a lot inside the numbers. They're just not. Jalen, as we've outlined, because the tape shows it, it's hard to argue against it because it's the fact he doesn't like throwing inside the numbers. He just doesn't.
Right.
But we saw it in the New Orleans game. Okay, we did with Goddard. Goddard didn't play today. That's also part of it, and they didn't have Goddard for the run game either. So we'll learn more this week. But I got to give him the credit though. That throw was unbelievable. I have to see the end zone look, because you could usually see what Hurts could see. He didn't throw a blind pass, but it's almost like he couldn't complete throw moving his arm forward. That just was ridiculous. I'm talking about the Brown touchdown on 4th and 3. Mm-hmm. That was just ridiculously great pass. It's just 4th and 3, man. Unreal.
Well, and it sort of shows you like the complexity of, and I saw it on, comments on our board, on social media. He throws a beautiful pass on 4th and 3 to AJ, because that's his strength. That is the pass that Jalen Hurts makes time and time again. But you're in that position because you don't pull the trigger on a wide open Devontae Smith running right across your face for a first down the play before that. That's what sets up the 4th and 3. He bails the pocket, throws it out of bounds, and then throws the touchdown, which, listen, a lot of quarterbacks can't do that 4th and 3 touchdown to A.J. Brown. He does that throw as good as anybody in the league, but you'd like to see him doing that and also finding the guys across the middle when they're open across your face at the same time. But that just sort of illustrates the work that this offense still has remaining and cut out for it. But they've got a lot of time. They still have plenty of time.
They do. That I totally agree. The one thing is just getting the OC and Hurts together, coming to like a middle ground on what this thing should look like. Everybody knows Jalen's a terrific downfield passer. That's not breaking news. But if you want to be a top 5, top 7 passer, you got to throw the ball inside the numbers. And Cosell's talking about it. He's risk averse. He just doesn't like to make tight window throws. And look, this is not college football. You're good. It's harder now. You got to make those throws. Brock Purdy's great at it. Not every quarterback's good at it. Jared Goff had to be better at it. It's kind of what got him out of Los Angeles. He wouldn't make those throws. Now he does it with Ben Johnson. Although Johnson does a great job of helping him create throws where the guy's open. But bottom line is that's the next step with Jalen. They got a while to go here. We got to believe it's going to happen. But here's the other thing. They've only played one game together, everybody. That's the thing. They've only played one full game together, I should say, week one.
Right.
And that's the thing. Got to get everybody together, plus the offensive line issues. And, Zach Bond hurt his shoulder. We should mention that. We'll look into that. We'll see what happens going forward here.
Right. By the way, just so everybody, I think most people know this, but I know there's still a small segment of either the fan base or people who, whatever you want to call it, the defenders that will look at some Jalen Hurts throws, like the mesh concept against New Orleans that won the game, and a couple of other throws, like an AJ Brown dig across the middle against man, right? And say, what do you mean? He throws. When we talk about throwing across the middle, we're talking about, when the tight end sits in front of a linebacker really quickly in front of a zone, or you run a levels concept on one side of the field where you have a shallow cross and a deep cross, and you want to get that deep cross, that 15-yard, as he's coming across the middle, over the linebacker before the safety. Those are the kind of throws that we're talking about. Obviously, a mesh concept where a couple guys fall and you throw it across the middle to an open receiver is not necessarily indicative of throwing the ball over the middle. There's that, but then there's really the second level quarterbacking that we talk about, being able to do that consistently against zones when the windows are a little bit tighter. I don't feel like we had to say that, but I know that was out there last week. Why are people saying Jalen Hurts can't throw over the middle? And then they're showing examples that I noted of a pass that went over the middle, but to a wide open player from a concept.
And also, and Mark Sanchez pointed it out, he had Barkley wide open in the flat for. I can't remember if it was going to be a score, but would it have been a score?
It was a wheel. It was almost like I don't know, Bay, just not with the motion and everything.
He stares down pass targets still and doesn't release the football sometimes. I know a lot of quarterbacks do it. I don't understand it. You can't answer it. Only the quarterback could explain to the quarterback coach and see why he's you're not pulling the trigger.
Right.
It's just not good. I mean, in fact, it's one of the rare shots on that's non all 22. Like we get access to the tape and we could watch it Tuesday or Wednesday. But when you're watching a game, the shot that Fox had was really good. You could see it. His read was right there to his left that he didn't throw it. And I think part of it is, though, I'm not trying to defend Hurts, but it just sort of what we've talked about now for 3 years. He's always looking for the big play. When his eyes are downfield, sometimes he's got those big eyes. He's like, I want to make that big play. I want to make that big play, not take the check down and not take the first pass. That's something he's just going to have to get better at, because the guys are open. That's the thing. In this scheme, guys are getting open. They don't always get it, and it's all tape based. I mean, we've known that since week one.
Right. You can become a victim of your own success, and that's a really good segue to I want to finish out on some coaching decisions here. Right. Nick Sirianni's so successful in his first 3 years as head coach, always aggressive, just like Doug Peterson was on fourth down, but I wanted to get your opinion. I disagreed with the decision, even though it worked out. I don't judge a decision on results. I judge it on, does it make sense at the time?
Yes.
The play we're talking about where Jalen Hurts misses Saquon Barkley, right, and throw on the wheel wide open, 3rd and 2. They go for it on 4th and 2, and Jalen Hurts gets great protection, can't find anybody, and he runs up the middle and takes a huge hit. He gets the first down, and I'm thinking, why? I mean, you could have kicked the field goal there. You're up 14-3. It's getting late now in the third quarter. You go up 17-3 on the Giants, who can't move the ball for anything.
Yeah.
I like being aggressive, but I also like being smart. I would have taken the field goal there. And then Adam, well, first of all, what did you think of that call?
I actually agree with you. You and I don't always agree on these things. It's the coaches always tell me it's situational. What score, down, distance, and how's your defense playing? How's your offense going? And the passing game has been very shoddy, not real rhythmic. Again, Hurts didn't have to throw the ball out, so it was hard for him to get in some sort of a rhythm. But I would have taken the points there. It's situational. Again, it was 14-3, was it not at the point?
It was 14-3, which,
I would have taken the field goal.
Yeah, you go up 17-3 in the third quarter of that game, it feels like you're up by 30 points.
Exactly, because the defense was absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
No, and some people would say, well, wait a minute. The the Giants couldn't move the ball anyway. So if they screw up and don't get any points, they're still up by 11. But that's not the point. The point is you could have gone up by 14. You're trying to do it. Again, I'm all for being aggressive, as you said. But you got to know this situation. This is one situation. I'm just not going to agree with Nick on that one. Boy, if it was the 22 offense, go right ahead. It could be 4th and 5. Go ahead. You probably will make it. Offense is unstoppable, but they're not this year. The passing game's just not there yet.
Right. And then on the next possession, they're up 21-3. It's 3rd and 7, and they go for it. Well, it's not that you don't go for it. Obviously, you run a play on 3rd and 7. I would have just ran the ball there and then maybe set up 4th and short and ran it again for the first down if I wanted to be aggressive. They call for a pass. Somehow they allow a free rusher again. This has been an issue up the middle, and Hurts bails them out. But he took another big hit at the end of that run as well. And I'm thinking, you're up 21-3. Run the ball. If you don't get it, if you can't, then the worst case scenario, you kick a field goal on 4th down and you're up 24-3, which feels like you're up 50 points in that game.
I was agreeing with you. Again, I'm super aggressive analytically. I want to go. I usually go with the charts as plus situation. This one is so obvious. Run the football. Can't believe I'm saying that because I'm Mr. Throw the Football, but no, absolutely.
I'm surprised myself too.
No, absolutely.
You always say you don't like bad football. You want smart football,
right? Because again, you're putting your quarterback in harm's way, right? Why? You're going with 2 backup linemen. Your left tackle is very shaky, Fred Johnson. Steen had to come off the bench, right? You're asking for trouble, man. Understand the situation, Nick. It's just stupid. But some people will tell me I'm wrong. That's fine. Everybody. This is certainly an opinion.
People will disagree with this. I know people disagree with us, but I want us to be at least candid about what we feel and not just judge the play on the result. We could easily be like,
"Yeah, I'm not about the results." No. We were texting each other,
right?
Like, why aren't they running the ball here? And then the result was shaky, but it's just being smart. It's a situation in the game. Plus, the defense is dominant. The Giants can't do anything. Having a 10-point lead is like a 30-point game. The Giants were totally inept. The defense took over. The Saints game was pretty good by their defense, but I thought this one was even more dominant.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so let's summarize with this. We'll get out of here with this. 2 good wins. 2 wins in a row is a good thing. You beat a division opponent. That's a good thing. You have not turned the ball over 2 straight weeks.
Oh, yeah.
That is a positive development.
Breaking news.
Not allowed. Yep. You've not allowed a touchdown for 2 straight weeks. That is a very positive development. This has to be a springboard. This has to be, let's continue to work on what we're doing well and figure out ways to continue to do it as, our tape develops. And then the things we're still not doing well, let's rep it. You can't just go play the Bengals next week and take 5 steps back. You've got to be able to continue this along as you're really trying to build into what you're supposed to be. Fair?
Yeah, no, you and I are kind of seeing this. It's rare that we totally agree on this stuff. I just don't. How could you argue against all this? It's obvious the defense was elite. Okay, okay, with an asterisk, they're not creating turnovers. Okay,
yeah,
that you'd like to see that. I'm kind of surprised Gardner Johnson. He's tackling better. I'm kind of surprised. I don't know. We'll ask Greg on Tuesday night. If our Patreon members don't ask, I'm going to ask. Do you see any point where Gardner Johnson? Because Greg loves Gardner Johnson. He was a big Gardner Johnson guy because Greg called him the best nickel in football when he was with New Orleans in 21, and obviously in 22 he was incredible with the turnovers. So I don't know why they're not creating turnovers. Even with all this pressure, you would think with Daniel Jones, who looked clueless today. Let's call it like it is. He gets the happy feet. He gets what I call frozen feet. He doesn't know what the hell to do.
Yeah,
he looked terrible. Terrible.
I think the guy who's just ready to cause like a real big turnover isn't CJ, but I think it's Mitchell. I think he's so close sometimes to getting one. We saw it last week against the Browns, and CJ ran into him. But if there's going to be a guy who I think gives you that kind of spark, it should be CJ based on the resume. But I feel like Quinyon Mitchell is a little closer to just getting his hands on one and showing what he can do. We'll see.
He's sticky. He was sticky today, man. He is. I know man coverage. I know when they've been in man, he's given up some plays, which is going to happen. You're going to have to have short memory. But this guy's a player. In fact, let's call it like it is. DeJean. Now, you saw him as a blitzer early on, and obviously Nakobe was a blitzer. But the early returns on their first 2 picks, absolutely terrific. But again, we got a long season to go.
Right. All right. Obviously, this week we'll have a lot of content. We'll have all of our great shows. Ask Greg Cosell for our Patreon members. We'll have ITB. People are giving us great feedback on Inside the Locker, the podcast that Andrew DeCecco has been doing at the end of each week, where he gives you his nuggets that he gleans from inside the Eagles locker room. Q&A. They'll be out on Tuesday morning. Gun on One with Derek Gunn. We'll have a ton. Oh, of course, the tape breakdown show with Greg Cosell that we have later in the week as well will be all cycled through on Inside the Birds this week. I look forward to it. Should be a great one. That's going to do it for the Inside the Birds post-game live. For Adam Caplan, I'm Geoff Mosher, and we'll catch you all on the next one.